reception now. In terms of timing, we've got an awful lot to get through. I'm going to try and not be too procedurally strict because I just want to get things done. We've got the room until 12:45. Certainly for my part, I intend to be fully engaged with those lift drink by 1 o'clock. So if we can make a start. Apologies. Anyone else is here? Right, the minutes of last year's AGM are included in the pack. Are there any proposed amendments to them? Okay, on that basis, can I ask someone please to propose approval of the minutes? Roger, thank you. And seconded by Dave. All those in favour? Anyone against? Matters arising from the minutes. The only thing I wanted to mention were the rule changes. We've had a number of rule changes, some of which were approved at last year's AGM, which have now finally been approved by the FCA, and I'm grateful to Nick for sorting all that out and the bureaucracy that's involved. Most of the rule changes were really by way of tidying up. The two, I think, significant ones were extending the maximum period for which a member can serve on the trust board from 6 years to 9 years, and also lowering the age at which someone can sit on the trust board from 18 to 16. So that's the only matter I wanted to raise. I think some of it will come up during the course of the meeting. Has anyone else got matters arising?
11A. Under any other business, can I ask a question on sewer rates progress towards the 75% shareholding? I'd like progress report, please. If that's later today, I'd be happy if it were posted on the trust website.
I wonder, in Paul 5, we're just going to read that update.
Paul's there.
He's there.
Paul?
On his way.
Paul? Mr. Bibby has just raised under matters arising the issue of what progress is being made on the strategic aim to achieve 75% of shareholding in the club. I wondered if you were just able to give a very brief update. Roger has said if it's lengthy, he's happy for that to be dealt with another time, but you're the man who...
Nigel's here as well, and I'm working with Nigel, David and Justin at the club on the share issue. We were working really hard trying to get to sort of 75% and make sense of the shares, and then I found out something about the integrity of the actual original register. It's 100 and something odd years old. So we're moving in a different way. It's kind of difficult to say because I don't know what I can say, David, Nigel. We've had guidance from the Football League, the EFL. We've had guidance from lawyers, and we've had guidance from supporters direct as well. So actually, we're probably moved further in the last 6 months than we had in the previous 13 years. Is that true, David?
I think we should say that in fact, lest members think that nothing has happened, actually a great deal has happened. It's just that we are bounded by difficulties in actually consulting with so many different people that are involved. But there is forward progress.
Yeah, and I think the next stage would be to talk to the Football League further and to corporate law.
Okay, thank you, James. Anything else that matters arising?
Item 3, Mr. Chairman, an action point for Julian Tag.
This is to do with the publication of information in the matchday programme.
That's correct.
Yeah. I know that John, where's John? John, I think you've been dealing or trying to address this.
Yeah, the difficulty with doing this is is not a lack of willingness, but it's a question of it's actually very difficult to extract on a game by game basis costs and income, because, for instance, what do you count as a cost that's only related to that particular match day, and what do you count as a cost that's just a generic part of a part of existence? So the club has published a couple of times some figures on the programme, but they don't really, I fear, tell what David wants. But we are trying to do that. As people know, I've been putting regular reports of the progress of attendances against forecasts and splitting them by home and away, and that makes a difference, because the more away fans are, the greater the yield, i.e. the income per person, because away fans tend to be more adults, fewer children, and fewer other concessions. So it's something we would like to do more of, but it kind of doing it in a way that's actually correct, in inverted commas, is more difficult than it might appear at first. But if members want to do more of that, I will consult with the club's finance people, with Keith and everything, and see if we can do something more that's more an accurate description of splitting the match day costs from the day-to-day things of running the club as a business. And it isn't as easy as we thought it might be.
Anything else on the matters horizon? Okay, thank you very much. Moving on, I'm grateful to both Julian and Keith Mason for attending today. I think Keith, you went first. Yes, for those of you who don't know, Keith Mason is the finance director on the club board. Do you know how long?
Just over a year.
Just over a year.
Yeah. Morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'll try not to keep you too long. I want to go through the figures for last year. If anybody's got any questions, then you're welcome to put your hand up and I'll take them as I go along. Sometimes easier. So I won't take too long, but I'll do my best to stop in the bottom too early. So can we have the accounts up? So this is the profit and loss for the last set of financial accounts, which incidentally was signed on Thursday at the board meeting, so they've been audited, signed by Julian, and they will be signed very shortly by the auditors. I don't know how many people can see these numbers, so the back will struggle, I'm sure. So I'll just briefly go through them. First thing to say is these accounts for this current year are for a 13-month period. When I joined the board, I was told that historically there had been some issues because all of the players' contracts run to the 30th of June, the club accounts were done to the 31st of May, and that caused problems in squaring up some of the numbers. So we agreed that we would change the year end for the club accounts to the 30th of June so they're in line with the players' contracts. That makes a lot more sense all round. So this year is a 13-month period. The bad news in that is that there are 2 Junes in these accounts. Because June is a non-playing month, it means that the club always makes a loss in June. So had we done these at the end of May, there would have been better figures. But we are where we are. So, quickly going through these, turnover for the club has increased from 2.8 million in the year to 31st of May 15 to 4 million in 13 months to the 30th of June. The main reason for that was obviously the cup runs that the clubs have. That generated the best part of £900,000 from the club games, particularly the Liverpool games, but the other club games as well. And also the TV fees, etc. that we got for organised games. And the additional commercial income that brought. Costs are equally have increased, but it is a 13-month period, so we're still paying wages for players when in June. And the additional commercial income brings costs with that. So admin costs have gone up by 200,000. Again, most of that is to do with the extra month. We'll finish up with the main reason, the main figure you're interested in, I'm sure, is the profit, which is just short of £200,000 profit in the year. And that includes £250,000 for the sale of Tom Nichols. Previous year, profit was 1.6 million, but included the transfer fee for Matt Grimes. These figures for the year compare with the budget that the club set of a loss of £360,000 near enough. And that budget was set at a loss because it was agreed when Matt Grimes was sold that additional income would be, additional monies would be given to the manager to spend on the squad. So we budgeted for a loss last year, and we're budgeting for a loss this year because we've done exactly the same. The agreement was that the manager would have extra money for last season and for this season, and we will review the situation when we do the budget in the spring of next year to see where we are. In my view, it is likely that he will have more money in the playing budget than we would suggest is his base budget. So if we go back 3 years, then that would be his base budget for the playing staff. So he's likely to have more than that, but he's not likely to have the level that he's got this year, unless we draw another Liverpool or somebody akin to that, or the significant player sales. But at this moment in time, we don't budget for that. Can we move on to the balance sheet? Unless anybody's got any questions about this.
Could you tell us what the figure would have been if it had been a like-for-like to 31st May?
The running costs for the club are about £400,000 a month. So it may have been 400k better. In that lot, £300,000 to £400,000 better if it had been to the end of May. Okay, so this is the club balance sheet. The two significant, well, one major significant figure in here is here, cash at the bank. We had £1 million in the bank at the end of June, compared to 223,000 a year before. The main reason for that is the Matt Grimes transfer was on 4 instalments. So we only had the first instalment in the 2015 accounts. The 2016 accounts includes 2 additional instalments, and the debtors figure here of £1.1 million includes £437,500 of money due from Swansea for the final instalment, which was received in August this year. Also in there is some in the debtors is some of the money for Tom Nichols, because that's also paid over a period of time. This figure here, creditors due in more than 1 year's time. A trust loan is in there of £800,000 and some £1,000. The remaining part of that is a grant that was received at the league for the big bank, which sits in assets up here, but the grant is released at the same time as the depreciation is taken on there, so they match off. And that grant is released at something like £80,000 a year, so there's another 4 years or so of grants to be released on that. Any other questions on the balance sheet?
With regard to Tom Nichols,
Yeah.
is there potential of sort of future monies to be
There
given
is,
on the period?
yeah, there is my understanding is that the transfer fee was to be paid in a number of instalments, and there are also add-ons for the number of games played, etc. Yeah, that is the case. That is not true with Matt Grimes, but it is true with Tom Nichols. It is. Yes. There are a number of worrying amounts in that debtors figure. We have a provision in the books, so we've taken account of the fact we're concerned about that. There are 2 or 3 that we don't think we're going to get paid. We've reduced the profits by taking that income out in effect. We've left them in the debtors figure because we just might get paid. So there's no risk to the club. If we don't get paid, we get additional profits into the accounts. I'm happy with that. I'm not happy that we've got the risk of not getting paid, but I'm happy that there's no risk to the club accounts.
Do you think that's rather a large sum of money cash at the bank? Current interest rate.
Yes, it is, and we have got most of that on longest term deposits, but then the interest rates are hopeless. There's nothing we can do. We're getting the best rate of return we can available in the market currently, but it's 0.25% or something like that. That's where the market is. Yeah. And of course, there are plans to use that money. We're spending quite a lot of that right at this moment at the Cliff Hill Centre on the 3G pitch. So half of that money, more than half of that money will drain away with that. But we keep an eye on the cash flow. My team do cash flow projection every week. That covers the next 13 weeks. And when we do budgets and forecasts, we do cash flows that link in with that. So we've done a budget for this season, and part of that process is we also look at future seasons, and based on the current information that we have, we've done a 5-year plan, a financial plan that is, based on that information, and if all of those circumstances come true, that shows that we will put money in the bank in 5 years' time, and that's the way we're doing the business.
I can't say anything to me, Mr. Chairman, so I'm going to ask a question. It might seem naive, but nevertheless I'll ask it.
Never mind.
What were the employment costs the last year, please?
That's not a figure that I've got in my head, but I'm quite happy to share that with the trust. I'll work that out and let the trust board know, and they can send it out to the trust members. The majority of, can we go back a slide? The majority of the costs in administration expenses are salaries, and the players' wages are in cost of sales. So, as a guess, I would say it's probably between 2 and 2.5 million of the total costs of employing people at the football club. But I will work out the exact figure from last year's accounts and let people know. Anything else? I don't think there's anything else that I wanted to say about the accounts. No, that's all I wanted to do. You were going to.
Yeah, there was two
Probably
things.
on a couple of
Well,
things.
just yet two things. The first one was the form of accounts that we file the companies accounts. We currently file what I suppose I would call short form.
Yes.
That's going to change.
Well, I believe that's the right thing to do. I understand that several years ago it was decided that what's called an abbreviated set of accounts would be sent to Companies House and registered there. The club has the option of sending abbreviated accounts, which is about 5 pages of information, or what we call full accounts. And full accounts is about 12 to 15 pages of information. And for example, this profit and loss account is not in the abbreviated accounts, it's only in the full accounts. Certainly as trust members, you ought to see the full accounts. Whether it's the right thing to do to publish in the Companies House is perhaps a different matter. I think it's right to put the full accounts there, but I did contact our the partner of Haynes Watts who audit the accounts and ask his opinion, and he hasn't been able to get back to me before today. So if he's got a really good reason for us just publishing abbreviated accounts, then we'll do that with Companies House. But I think it's the right thing anyway that trust members get able to see the full accounts. So one way or another, we will publish the full accounts to the trust, even if we don't put them in Companies House.
Yeah, thank you. The second one was just tying in with a resolution that's going to be put later regarding business plan this
Yeah.
year and
Yeah.
in the
Fine.
future. Perhaps you can tell us where we are.
Yeah, well, as I said earlier, as part of the budget process, we do take that a little bit further, and financially we do look at 5 years just so that we know where we are and we know what we have to do in years to come. If, for example, as part of that process, it showed that we ran out of money in September 2019, for example, then we'd have plenty of time to amend what we're doing at the football club and do what we need to do to make sure we don't reach that critical situation. So we don't ever want to be in the situation we were in a couple of years ago where we're going to go cap in hand to the league because we've run out of money. We shouldn't be in that situation, and I always try and ensure we never get into that situation. As far as the business plan is concerned, that's a much bigger thing because it's not only looking at the finances, it's looking at the commercial side of it, the playing side of it and everything else. We are currently working on a business plan, and had things worked out, we would have completed it last Thursday, but because of diary problems, we're not looking at it again until next week. But I think Julian is going to say a bit more about that. Business plans we must have. I personally, I'm not in favour of doing a full business plan every year. I think you need to do a full budget every year, and you need to project the way forward, so financially you know where you are. But a business plan is a much bigger project, and that probably should be done every 3 years or so, in my view. But we do what you tell us to do. So if you want a business plan every year, then that's what we do. Okay? Thank you.
Can I ask a very quick
Of
question?
course.
Last year, you provided some very helpful backup information to the council
Yeah.
slides.
Yeah.
I think that may have been a subsequent transfer.
It was because I wasn't able to attend the AGM last year. I was on holiday, so
Is it
we
proposed
arranged
to
to.
produce that detail again?
Yeah,
Because that was
sir.
very helpful in the case.
Yeah, okay.
And secondly, is someone from Haynes Watts here today to answer questions on this?
No, they're not.
From breach of rules.
I wasn't aware of that.
Right.
But okay.
I would like to ask the representative to tell us what the related party transactions say. But if you're going to publish the accounts, that will do.
And I'm happy to take.
If you don't put it on the website, I would like you to form questions before.
Fine. Okay. No problem.
Okay, thank you, Keith. Moving on.
I think it tells its own story.
Couldn't find a good enough.
Good morning, welcome. Although this is my third visit to speak with you at this AGM, it's my second year as chair of the board. What I wanted just to start off with, just very briefly, is there's all sorts of figures that I thought was going to put down. Of course, those figures are always open to interpretation, and some of the figures that come through from the league. But there was just one set that were recent that I thought I'd just give you a very brief overview, because once we go through this thing, lots of it is sort of, I don't know that it's doing good actually, but we're always very worried as a group of people about where we are and where we sit. I thought this was a set of figures that might be, and again, I'm not going to go into the detail of them, it's something that can be picked up later, I'm sure that'll be in your pack later on so you can look at, but it just sort of gives you a very brief, before I actually, spend all the time, just gives you a very brief overview of where we sit in our league. And that really just tells you, in terms of an accumulated profit and loss, where we are, Exeter City at the end, and where the other teams are. And that sort of gives us an indication, or certainly gives us all an indication, where we sit competitively. Whether that's right or not, looking at that, we're in exactly the right place. But actually, in terms of where we sit with what's going on within the league and how much money is flowing into the clubs, that tells an absolutely horrific story of what's going on. When you look at the league above, the amount of philanthropic money that's being pushed into the clubs and then of course pushed onto the field, which we've all got plenty of examples of. If we did that for the league above, we'd be off the scale down here with some of the numbers. So it just shows, one, I think the positive of where we are, that what we've achieved and where we are working within our means, which has always been the mantra. But it also does tell another story in terms of our ability to be competitive in our league with the other ones as well. So it's something that our interest in them. I just thought those were interesting figures in there. My brief today is to report on progress, material, financial, in year end. Keith has done the financial aspect of that part of my task admirably, and I must extend the board's thanks to him for having transformed the club's accountancy accuracy and its internal and external systems in recent months. The measure of our new FD is that he's not satisfied with that progression, and he continues to press further for yet greater efficiencies and measures to advance the club. The moving feast that's football budgets and accountancy, coupled with the need to make forecasts many, many months in advance, makes his efforts all the more praiseworthy. So I can't say thank you enough from the people of that, from both sides of the club. I also have to mention, and heartfelt thanks, because it doesn't happen often enough, but my admiration goes out to all those that I work with in our back office. The staff is led primarily now by Justin, but also Gilly, Mark, Rose, Dennis, people that you will know personally. The often unnoticed work ethic and dedication that they show with the hours they do behind the scenes, alongside our many dedicated volunteers that share those same attributes, is actually quite awe-inspiring and ensures that we stay where we are today. Our club board, I will refer for a minute, is now what we call 4 and 4. It's still relatively new, and I venture to suggest exists in few, if any, other football club. It has functioned to date, in my opinion, extremely well. Each trust director, I think most of them here, Elaine, Peter, Paul and Lawrence, they have attacked one or more particular aspect of club business, brought much value, showed real-time commitment, and have all immersed themselves, committing themselves to the business of the board. And it may be an original boardroom, it is very different than elsewhere, I believe, but what it does mean is that the 4 trust directors do get to see and oversee every detail of the club's business, and nothing is hidden. Whilst I've mentioned the work of the trustee directors and our FD Keith, the work that David Lee has done to get us to a point close to delivery of our new stand is a hugely involved and complex process. It can only be described as sort of almost miraculous and immense. What he's done is quite incredible, I have to say, having watched him progress determinedly with the problems, things he's quite superb. And lastly, my thanks go to Paul Morris, whose experience and depth of knowledge, coupled with his ability to facilitate strategy and business planning, remains invaluable. There's been a recent addition to the board of Terry Falco. He's an HR specialist, he's a partner at Stevens Scown, he's a non-executive director, and he's injected pace and certainty into our recent 360 staff review. It's a tremendous addition to the board, giving clear and concise advice, not based on sentiment or on history, but factual considerations and best practice. And finally, my thanks to the club secretary and supporters liaison officer, Richard Knight. His secretarial excellence, his experience, his dedication across all 3 of the boards ensures continuity which is interwoven between not only the trust, but the club, the FITC and the academy business. And without it, I don't think without him we couldn't do it. It would be extremely churlish to suggest that our league position is acceptable. Clearly it's not. There's a constant clamour for action from the board. An understanding of boardroom legalities makes disclosure of details, an example being of the aforementioned 360 for instance, sometimes difficult and it makes it sometimes impossible. The inability to present a running commentary should not be misconstrued as inaction. We are reminded and advised by Terry what legally must and must not remain confidential, and all directors current and the new ones about to arrive must know and adhere to. It would be very easy if we were able to reveal everything, legal or otherwise. Not being able to do so can sometimes lead to scurrilous accusations, such as tag as a Range Rover. And I have to confess it's true. But to reiterate, the trustees that sit on the trust and the club boards are party to absolutely every detail. But they too are duty bound to do the best for the club and legally bound by the laws of the land, and we have to respect that. It does make life exceedingly difficult sometimes for those who sit in those seats. That said, I should personally acknowledge that better communication to all is most definitely required. The state of the nation piece that was done recently and the updates on the development on the 3G progress, for example, are acknowledgement of exactly that. And, as they say, a note to self, which I'll share with you, so it's not to self. And anybody that might succeed me, this is an area of weakness and I must do better, I acknowledge. Whilst I've referred to our unacceptable league position, I'm constantly asked about the state of the club or how are things going. I don't believe there's time or a huge need to go into huge detail because the people in here are knowledgeable and you've seen for yourself what is going on. But firstly, certainly in terms of the academy, it continues to excel. Simon Hayward and his team continue to, as they say, do the business. Ollie Watkins in the year that I should be talking about, and Ethan Ampadu are further examples of just exactly that. And have ensured that despite our recent biggest ever transfer fee out of Matt Grimes, there's still immense financial value and player quality on the field, and thank you for that. The FITC Football and Community, soon to be Exeter City Community Trust, is also a rock bearer of what this club is about. Its turnover is growing exponentially. 2 years ago, that turnover was 335,000. Last year, the turnover was 500k. This year, the turnover is 735k, and we're heading towards 1.2 million. Please be aware and do not underestimate that that's the work that underpins the immense amount of goodwill shown towards our club by our councils, certainly by Exeter City Council, definitely by Devon County Council, more laterally and recently in a presentation to East Devon District Council, and we're doing a lot of work now with Cleveland District Council. That underpinning work is what the goodwill that's shown towards us, which is what we are going to need now and certainly in the future. But also, alongside that, the city's businesses and the citizens. And whilst many within our football club know it's FITC, a brand that will not be lost, I assure you, the proposed name change to Exeter City Community Trust is designed to capture the imagination and gain support from the whole of Greater Exeter, because that's where we draw from. Much work has already been completed, yet more to be done. It's all designed to spread the word and define what this community club really does and what it really contributes and delivers to its community across Greater Exeter. Do not underestimate. Jamie, along with Danny and Scott, continue to take another of our jewels in the crown to ever greater heights. Keith referred to it, but in detail, or slightly more detail, 2 recent board away days have been completed, and the third and final one was due to have been held in October on Thursday, but we had to defer until next week, so unfortunately we're not complete. The purpose has been to look at a variety of issues that need to be faced head on. Not least a business plan to be born out of budget projections, as Keith said, of the next 5 years, enabling the board to understand and focus on a required strategy. With that word, led by Paul Morris, close to completion, it still leaves the proverbial elephant in the room, which must and can only be solved by you. This is the trust and its members, the owners of our football club. Unless we're able to decide unanimously and collectively on what our vision for Exeter City Football Club really is, we will have neither direction nor success. So in short, we cannot have a plan without a clear destination to aim for. The plan at the end will dictate